ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you very much for the opportunity of being here and present our work. I represent also the Wroclaw Medical University in Poland, but my colleague showed us the problem of falling of patient, and I will tell you that this is really a huge problem in Poland because we are doing a lot to decrease such an event. But my point of view, my presentation and my speech will be dedicated to the problem of falling of medical personnel. And this is the problem that we are working on for at least 5 or 6 years in our team on Wrocław Medical University. We are cooperating with the ESSA, that's an international organization held in Hamburg in Germany, and we are working with them very hardly. We are preparing our nurses, our medical students, and we are trying to adopt the new approaches to the ergonomy and science of ergonomy into the medical sciences and the science of health. And my topic is the risk of workers' falls and injury at work in the context of an employer's responsibility and operating cost in the healthcare institutions. The problem of falling of medical personnel, especially nurses or doctors, is really very important. But unfortunately, in Poland, but also in other countries in our region, the problem of attention of falling is dedicated mostly to the patient of hospitals. The Polish hospitals pay close attention to the problem of falling, but usually in the context of their patient. And this is the problem that Łukasz told us some minutes ago. Both in the literature of the subject as well as the analysis of the website dedicated to the hospital patient, because there's a lot of the websites of hospitals when they are trying to help the patient to decrease the number of falling at home or at hospital, we show that they are paying a lot of attention to eliminating the risk of injury caused by falling among patients. The law on hospital quality and medical accreditation standards requires regular fall risk analysis as a factor of the quality of patient hospital care. This is the standard number PJ5 of patient safety. In every Polish hospital, it is obligatory. But only from the point of view of patient, unfortunately. The risk of falling of a hospital employee is an employer's problem. Yes, it is, because of the 2 reasons. The first reason is the law, and the second reason is the lack of the medical personnel. So we need to do a lot to decrease the number of falling and to increase the possibility of working in our hospitals. Of course, from the organization's point of view, the obligation to risk analysis is present, of course, in ESO standards. For example, ESO 31000, the risk management, or ISO 9001 regarding risk in the hospital context. Of course, you all know that ESO 9001 is not dedicated only for the hospitals, but of course it has a context. So if we are implementing it in the hospital, and in Poland a lot of hospitals have ESO, so this context is very important to us. The organization should identify the process needed in the quality management system of their and use in the organization, and should take into account risk and opportunities. The very important problem is that, of course, the risk consideration may include risk avoidance, risk taking in order to size the opportunity, remove the source of risk. Very often it is not impossible. It is not possible. The change of probabilities or consequences, and risk sharing or risk retention based on an informed decision. Some minutes ago, I told you that we have the 2 reasons because of the problem of falling of the employees is important. The first, of course, is the employer's liability for an employee accident at work. In Polish law defines the fall or injury an employee suffers while working as an accident at work. It doesn't matter what kind of accident it is, but also it is an accident at work. So in the event of this accident, the employer is obligated to taking necessary actions to eliminate or reduce the threat, providing first aid to victims, determining in the prescribed manner the circumstances and causes of the accident, and of course applying appropriate measures to prevent similar accidents in the future. From this point of view, employer's liability for an employee accident as work is, of course, this mode and scope of work eliminating or reducing the risk or re-accident should be determined in each workplace by internal regulations, ordinances, or instructions. Unfortunately, as we see in Poland but in many other countries in our region, employers are aware of the needs of such regulations and their implements. For example, for occupational health and safety services. Activities that should be carried out by the employers should consist of evacuation of people if something will happen, evacuation of people from danger zone, securing the accident zone against unauthorized access, turning off the electricity and gas supply if needed, and of course turning off the machines or devices if needed. In the hospital it's not very easy because as we know in hospitals we have a lot of installations and a lot of to do, a lot of patients, so it's not possible to evacuate to everyone and to eliminate all risk that we see. Of course, regardless of the requirements set out by the labor law for the employer in the Polish legal system, we have also the second reason. The second reason is the civil liability of the employees towards the employee for exposure to injury or accident at work. An employee who has an accident at work and has suffered damage may claim compensation from his employer pursuant to the Article 415 and 444, paragraph 1 and 2 of the Civil Code, according to which in the event of bodily injury or health disorder, compensation for damage shall cover all costs resulting therefrom. All costs. At the request for the injured person, the employer who is obligated to repair the damage should pay in advance the sum needed for medical costs. And if the injured party has become an invalid, also the sum needed for the cause of preparation for another profession sometimes. If the injured person lost his ability to work, or if as a result of an accident his needs increased or his chances for future decreased, he may demand an adequate pension for the employee even for the rest of his life. And very often it happens. Very often the judges says that that's the obligation of the employer. From the point of view of employer, of course, we were trying to answer some scientific questions because we are the scientists, we are working in a medical university, and we are trying to answer some questions. Of course, we had to prepare. Okay, 2 minutes. And we had to do some research. Of course, this study was conducted in August 2019. The aim of the study was to analyze the opinions of medical employees, doctors, nurses, midwives, and other employees about the importance of applying the principle of work ergonomics and safety rules to avoid injuries and accidents at work. And the results are: the first, employees of the hospital don't pay much attention to avoiding the risk of falling, don't associate the falling or injury with the problem of absenteeism or of shortening the time of ability to work. Employers in the surveyed group don't offer trainings in the field of avoiding the risk of falling. Employers don't refund and don't pay attention to ergonomics footwear, for example. In Germany, it's very, very popular to have an ankle stabilizing sport shoes. In Poland, it is not very popular, but we are doing our best to do the same. Slippers or shoes with an exposed heel are the most common footwear for hospital employees, which is, of course, inappropriate. Employers buy patient lifts, but employees do not want to use them because it takes more time than lifting the patient alone, for example, by the shoulders, despite the potential risk of injury to the patient or to the nurse. Employers rarely report accident falls to the occupational health and safety services, especially those that have now resulted in permanent injury, probably for fear of break from work or administrative procedures, and there are no muscular relaxation places, stress relief and relaxation devices in hospitals that employees can use. And my last slide, the conclusion. Of course, in recent years, thanks to the introduction of medical accreditation in Poland, the improvement of quality and ESO standards, the quality of care has increased very significantly. The quality of care is usually understood as addressed to patient, much less often to employees. Polish employers rarely pay attention to the need of the eliminate fall and injuries among employees, despite a very shortage of medical staff in hospitals. And of course, our last conclusion, there is a need to continually raise awareness of ergonomics and occupational safety in hospitals, both among employees and hospital management. Thank you very much for your attention.